The Grand Assembly Hall was the largest building Unipark had ever seen. It stretched so high that clouds formed near its ceiling. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, their bodies shaped in ways that still surprised her even after all these years. Some had scales, some had wings, some floated in tanks of strange liquid. All of them looked down at her with the same expression, disgust. Una stood alone in the human section. The seats around her were empty. Earth had sent only her to this meeting. The other species thought this was because humans were too poor to send more representatives. They were wrong. She was 62 years old, but she looked younger. Her silver hair was pulled back tight. Her uniform was simple and black. She kept her hands folded behind her back and her face empty of emotion. She had practiced this face for 40 years. High Speaker Vorik rose from his throne at the center of the hall. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. His species had ruled the Galactic Council for 10,000 years. They believed they were the chosen ones, meant to guide lesser species toward civilization. Humans, in their eyes, were barely more than animals. Vorik raised one of his hands, and the hall fell silent. "We gather today to address a problem," he said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "For 120 years we have allowed humans into our great community. We gave them a place among the stars. We shared our knowledge. We offered them peace." Una did not move. She did not blink. "And how have they repaid us?" Vorik continued. "They breed like insects. They spread to new worlds without permission. They refuse to accept their place in the natural order. They are aggressive. They are dangerous. They are a threat to everything we have built." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the hall. Una heard words in dozens of alien languages: pest, vermin, disease. She had heard these words before. She had heard them her entire life. "The council has voted," Vorik announced. "The decision is unanimous. For the safety of the galaxy, we declare war on the human species. Their colonies will be seized. Their fleet will be destroyed. Their population will be controlled. This is not cruelty. This is mercy. We are saving them from themselves."
Now the hall erupted in applause.
Thousands of aliens cheered and stomped and clicked their approval. They had wanted this for a long time. Humans made them uncomfortable. Humans asked too many questions. Humans did not bow low enough. Ambassador Dren walked toward Una. He was shorter than Vorik, the same blue skin but a rounder body. He carried a glowing tablet in his hands. This was the formal declaration of war, the death sentence of her species. "Admiral Park," Dren said. He tried to make his voice sound sad, but Una could see the pleasure in his eyes. "I am sorry it has come to this. Perhaps if your people had been more cooperative." Una looked at the tablet. She did not take it. "On 47 worlds? Such a waste. But you must understand, this is for the greater good. Your species is simply too much." Una finally moved. She reached out and took the tablet from his hands. She looked at the words on the screen. The formal language, the official seal, the signatures of every council member, and then, for the first time in decades, Unipark smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was not a sad smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for something for a very, very long time. At last, she whispered. Dren's expression changed. The pleasure disappeared. Something else took its place. Something that looked almost like fear. "I'm sorry," he said. "Did you say something?" Una looked up at him. Her eyes were calm. Her voice was soft. "I said, at last." She turned and walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the suddenly quiet hall. The applause had stopped. The cheering had stopped. Every alien in the chamber watched her go. Vorik leaned forward on his throne. "Admiral Park, you cannot simply leave. There are protocols. There are procedures." Una did not stop. She did not look back. "We are giving you a chance to surrender peacefully," Vorik shouted. "We are offering you mercy." Una reached the great doors of the chamber. She paused for just a moment. "No," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You are giving us permission? Then she walked out, and the doors closed behind her. The hall exploded in confused noise. Aliens shouted questions at each other. What did she mean? Was she insane? Did humans not understand what was about to happen to them? Ambassador Dren stood frozen in place. His hands were shaking. He had delivered hundreds of war declarations in his career. He had seen species beg. He had seen species cry. He had seen species threaten and curse and collapse in despair. He had never seen anyone smile. Outside the hall, Yuna's shuttle waited on a private landing pad. The pilot opened the door for her, and she climbed inside. The interior was dark and quiet. Taeho Kim sat in the back seat. He was 50 years old, with a soldier's build and a scholar's eyes. He had served under Yuna for 25 years. He knew her better than anyone alive. Well, he asked. Yuna handed him the tablet. He read it quickly, his expression growing darker with each line. So they finally did it, he said, double quotes, yes. How long do we have? They will mobilize their fleet within the month. They expect us to run, to hide, to scatter to the edges of the galaxy and wait for death. Taeho looked at her. And what are we going to do? Yuna leaned back in her seat. Through the shuttle window, she could see the alien sky of Kilos Prime. Somewhere out there, 12 billion humans were waiting. They did not know yet that war had been declared, but they knew it was coming. They had always known. Send the signal, Yuna said. Tell the fleet. Tell the colonies. Tell everyone? What should I tell them? Yuna closed her eyes. She thought of her parents. She thought of their burning ship. She thought of 40 years of patience and planning and pretending to be weak. Tell them Operation Awakening begins now. Tell them the mask comes off. And tell them. I opened her eyes. Tell them it is time to show the galaxy what humanity really is. The shuttle lifted off and disappeared into the stars. Deep beneath the surface of Luna, Earth's moon, there was a city that did not exist on any map. It had no name. It had no official records. For 100 years, it had been humanity's greatest secret. Unipark walked through the corridors of the underground command center. Officers saluted as she passed. Screens covered every wall, showing maps of the galaxy, fleet positions, and intelligence reports. The air hummed with energy and purpose. Taeho Kim walked beside her. The signal has been sent, he said. All commands have confirmed receipt. The fleet is moving to position. Good. In the council? Their ships are still in port. They are celebrating their victory. They think they have 3 months before we can even respond. Yuna allowed herself a small smile. They think wrong. The main briefing room was filled with the highest officers in the human military, admirals, generals, intelligence chiefs, scientists, engineers. These were the people who had kept the secret for generations. These were the people who had built humanity's true power while the galaxy laughed at them. Yuna took her place at the head of the long table. Behind her, a massive screen showed the emblem of the United Earth Fleet, a blue planet surrounded by stars. You all know why we are here, she began. The Council has declared war. They believe they are about to crush a weak and primitive species. They believe humans have no real fleet, no real weapons, no real chance. She paused. Today, we prove them wrong. Sorahan stood up. She was the head of Earth's intelligence, a small woman with sharp eyes and a quiet voice. She had spent 30 years building a network of spies that reached into every corner of the galaxy. For the past century, we have told the Council that humanity has a population of 12 billion, Sora said. The real number is 47 billion. We have told them we have 47 colony worlds. The real number is over 300. We have told them our fleet consists of 200 outdated patrol ships. She smiled. The real number is classified, but I can tell you it is significantly larger. Murmurs filled the room. Even some of the officers looked surprised. The secret had been kept so well that not everyone knew its full extent. Mira Choi stood up next. She was the chief engineer of the secret fleet. A brilliant woman, who had turned stolen alien technology into something far more powerful. When we first joined the council, they gave us their oldest, weakest technology, Mira explained. They wanted to keep us dependent. They wanted us to stay primitive. What they did not realize is that humans are very good at taking things apart and making them better. She pressed a button, and the screen behind Una changed. It showed a massive warship, sleek and deadly, unlike anything the Council had ever built. "This is the Horizon-class battleship," Mira said. "It is 3 times faster than the Council's best ships. Its shields can absorb 10 times more damage. Its weapons can cut through their armor like it is made of paper. We have built over 500 of them." The screen changed again, showing more ships, cruisers, destroyers, troop transports. An entire war machine that had been hidden in the dark spaces between stars. "The Council thinks their fleet travel technology is the most advanced in the galaxy," Myra continued. "They are wrong. Our ships can jump with precision they cannot imagine. We can appear anywhere. We can disappear before they can react. We can be everywhere and nowhere at once." Admiral AudioBook raised his hand. He was young for his rank, only 35, but he had earned his position through skill and courage. "What about the enemy fleet?" he asked. "We have numbers. Yes, but they have experience. They have been fighting wars for thousands of years." Sorahan answered. "They have been fighting weak species who could not fight back. They have not faced a real enemy in centuries. Their tactics are old. Their officers are lazy. They believe they cannot lose, and that belief will destroy them." Una nodded. "Captain Beak raises a good point. We have strength, but we must not be arrogant. The Council has made that mistake. We will not." She looked around the table. These were good people, brave people. They had dedicated their lives to this moment. "I want to tell you a story," she said. "Some of you know it. Some of you do not." The room fell silent. "When I was 12 years old, my parents took me on a trip to see a new colony world. Our ship had to pass through what the Council called restricted space. We did not know it was restricted. There were no warnings, no signs, nothing." Her voice stayed calm, but her hands tightened on the edge of the table. "A Council patrol found us. They said we were criminals. They said we were invaders. They gave us 30 seconds to surrender." My father tried to explain. He tried to tell them it was a mistake. They did not listen. They opened fire. The ship was destroyed. 200 people died. My parents died. I survived only because my mother pushed me into an escape pod. No one spoke. No one moved. The Council called it a defensive action. They said we were dangerous. They said they had no choice. They never apologized. They never investigated. They never cared. Una looked up. I was 12 years old, and I learned something that day. I learned that the galaxy does not care about justice. The galaxy only cares about power. And I decided that humanity would have power. Real power. Power so great that no one would ever hurt us again. She stood up straight. For 50 years, I have worked toward this day. I have watched our enemies laugh at us. I have smiled and bowed and pretended to be weak. I have let them believe we were nothing. And now, at last, we show them the truth. Aho Kim spoke up. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Una turned to the screen. With a gesture, she brought up a map of the galaxy. One system was highlighted in red. "The Voral system," she said. "The Council's largest military shipyard. 500 warships are stationed there. It is the heart of their fleet, and it will be our first target." Gihobik leaned forward. "An attack on Voral? That is deep in Council territory. They will never expect it." "Exactly." "We will not wait for them to come to us. We will not hide. We will not run. We will strike first, and we will strike hard." She looked at each face around the table. "Tomorrow, the galaxy will learn that humanity is not a species to be pitied. We are not insects. We are not vermin. We are the storm that has been building for a century. And now we are ready to break." The officers rose to their feet. Their faces were determined. Their eyes were bright. Operation Awakening begins in 6 hours, Eunice said. May we all be worthy of this moment. She turned and walked out of the room. Behind her, the officers began to move. Orders were given. Ships were launched. Messages were sent. The mask was falling. The truth was rising, and the galaxy would never be the same. Commander Tovik was bored. He had been stationed at the Voral shipyard for 3 years, and nothing interesting ever happened. His father, High Speaker Vorik, had given him this position as a gift. It was supposed to be an easy job. Guard the shipyard. Look impressive. Wait for promotion. He sat in his command chair on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the great window. 500 warships floated around the shipyard, their lights blinking in the darkness. The largest fleet in the galaxy? The pride of the Council, Commander, one of his officers said. We have received news from the Grand Assembly. The war declaration has been delivered. The humans have been informed, Tovik smiled. Excellent. How did they react? The reports say their admiral walked out without saying much. She looked calm. Of course she did. What else could she do? The poor creatures know they are doomed, Tovik laughed. I almost feel sorry for them, almost. The bridge crew laughed with him. They had all heard stories about humans. Small, weak, primitive. They lived for barely 100 years. They had no claws, no scales, no natural weapons. They were soft and fragile. The war would be over in weeks. Should we prepare for deployment? The officer asked. There is no rush, Tovik said. Let them wait. Let them fear. We will move when we are ready. The humans are not going anywhere. An alarm began to sound. Tovik frowned. What is that? The officer checked his console. His face went pale. Commander, we are detecting energy signatures. Multiple signatures. They are appearing right in the middle of our formation. That is impossible. Nothing can jump that close without. The darkness outside the window exploded into light. 50 human warships materialized out of nothing. They appeared between the council vessels so close that Tovik could see the details of their hulls. They were unlike any ships he had ever seen. Sleek, powerful, dangerous. At the front of the formation was the largest ship, its name written in human letters on its side, Horizon, Battle Stations. Tovik screamed. All ships, open fire. But the humans were already moving. The Horizon fired first. A beam of white energy cut through space and struck a council cruiser. The cruiser's shields flashed once and disappeared. A second later, the ship broke apart like it was made of glass. Possible, Tovik whispered. That is impossible. Our shields should have 2 more council ships exploded, then 3 more, then 5. The human ships moved like nothing Tovik had ever seen. They twisted and turned between the council vessels, firing with perfect accuracy. Every shot hit its target. Every target was destroyed. On the bridge of the Horizon, Captain Jihobik watched the battle with calm focus. His crew worked around him in perfect silence, each person doing their job without hesitation. Enemy flagship identified, his tactical officer reported. It is Commander Talvik's vessel. Orders. Disable it, Jiho said. I want him alive, yes, Captain. The Horizon changed course, heading straight for Talvik's ship. 3 council destroyers moved to block them. They lasted for seconds. Tovik watched in horror as his fleet died around him. Ships that had taken years to build were destroyed in moments. Crews that had trained for decades were gone in flashes of light. The pride of the council was being torn apart by a species they had considered beneath them. Fire everything. He ordered, all weapons now. His ship unleashed a storm of energy at the Horizon. Missiles, beams, plasma charges, everything they had. The Horizon did not even slow down. Its shields absorbed the attack like it was nothing. It kept coming, growing larger in the window until it filled Talvik's entire view. Commander, an officer shouted, they are boarding us. The lights on the bridge flickered. Somewhere deep in the ship, explosions echoed through the corridors. Screams followed. Tovik drew his sidearm. His hands were shaking. He had never actually fired a weapon in combat. He had never needed to. The bridge doors exploded inward. Human soldiers poured through the opening. They wore black armor and moved with terrifying speed and coordination. Their weapons fired in short, precise bursts. Council officers fell around Tovik, stunned but not killed, in seconds. It was over. A human soldier walked toward Tovik. He removed his helmet, revealing a young face with dark eyes. "Commander Tovik," the soldier said, "I am Captain Jihobik of the United Earth Fleet. You are now a prisoner of war. If you cooperate, you will be treated well. If you do not," he shrugged. "We prefer that you cooperate." Tovik's weapon fell from his hand. He could not speak. He could not think. Everything he believed was crumbling around him. "How?" he finally managed. "How did you do this? Your species is primitive. You have no technology. You have no fleet." Jiho smiled. It was not a cruel smile. It was almost sad. "Your father told you that, did he? Your scientists? Your intelligence officers?" He shook his head. "They lied to you, Commander. Or maybe they lied to themselves. Either way, the truth is standing in front of you now." He gestured toward the window. Outside, the battle was ending. The last council ships were surrendering or fleeing. The great shipyard was in flames. Hundreds of vessels, the work of generations, were gone. 11 minutes, Jiho said. "That is how long this battle lasted. 500 of your ships? 11 minutes. Tovik sank to his knees. "My father will destroy you. The council will send everything they have." "Hope they will," Jiho said. "We have been waiting a very long time for a real fight." He turned to his soldiers. "Take him to the brig. Treat him well. He is going to help us send a message." As the soldiers led Tovik away, Jiho looked out at the destruction. He felt no joy. He felt no satisfaction. He only felt the weight of what was coming. His communicator beeped. He answered it. "Captain Beak." Admiral Yuna's voice was calm as always. "Report. The Voral shipyard is ours, Admiral. All objectives achieved. Enemy fleet destroyed or captured. Commander Tovik is in custody. Casualties? 12 wounded. None dead." There was a pause. "Well done, Captain. This is just the beginning. Return to base. We have work to do." "Yes, Admiral." Jiho ended the call. He looked at his crew, at their young faces, at the determination in their eyes. "You heard her," he said. "This is just the beginning. Let us make sure the galaxy remembers this day." The horizon turned and jumped back into the darkness between stars. Behind it, the ruins of the Council's greatest fleet burned in the light of a dying sun across the galaxy. News began to spread. Whispers at first, then shouts. The humans had struck first. The humans had won. The humans were not what anyone thought they were, and in his throne room on Theres. High Speaker Vorik received the report of his son's capture. His hands trembled as he read the words. His advisors watched in silence, afraid to speak. For the first time in his long life, Vorik understood what fear truly felt like. The storm had arrived. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Vorel. 6 months of war. 6 months of revelation. The galaxy was burning, but not in the way the Council had planned. Admiral Yuna Park stood on the bridge of her command ship, the Dawn of Earth, watching reports scroll across her screens. Human fleets had struck 30 systems. Council military bases had been destroyed. Enemy shipyards had been captured. Supply lines had been cut, but that was not what surprised the galaxy. What surprised them was what came after the battles. On the planet Kethis, human soldiers landed expecting resistance. Instead, they found slaves. The Kethis people had been conquered by the Council 3,000 years ago. They had been forced to work in mines, to build ships, to serve their masters. They had never known freedom. When the humans arrived, the Kethis did not fight. They fell to their knees and wept. "We thought you were like the others," their leader told Captain Jihobik. "We thought you came to conquer, but you are freeing us. Why? What do you want from us? Jiho had looked at the thin, broken people around him. He had seen the scars on their bodies. He had seen the fear in their eyes. We want nothing, he said. We are not here to take. We are here to end what should have ended long ago. The same scene repeated across the galaxy. World after world, species after species. The Council had built its empire on the backs of the weak. It had used slavery and fear to control thousands of planets. And now, one by one, those chains were being broken. On Theri's high speaker, Vorik watched his empire crumble. Reports came in every hour, each one worse than the last. His generals were losing. His allies were abandoning him. His own people were starting to whisper that maybe the humans were right. How is this possible? He demanded. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. How can one primitive species destroy everything we built? His advisors had no answers. They only had excuses. The humans were cheating. The humans had stolen technology. The humans had made deals with traitors. None of it was true. The truth was simpler and more terrible. The Council had grown weak, and humanity had grown strong. Sohan's intelligence network was working perfectly. Human spies had infiltrated every level of the Council government. They knew every secret. They predicted every move. When the Council sent a fleet to attack human colonies, the fleet found nothing but empty space. When they tried to ambush human supply ships, they walked into traps. They are fighting a war from 100 years ago, Sora reported to Yuna. They do not understand that war has changed. They do not understand that we have changed. Meanwhile, Mira Choi unveiled her greatest creation. She called it the Sunbreaker. It was not a weapon that killed. It was something more elegant. When activated, the Sunbreaker released a wave of energy that disabled all technology on a planet. Every ship stopped working. Every gun went silent. Every machine shut down. No one died, but no one could fight, as Mercy Mira explained. We do not want to kill billions of people. We want to end the war. The Sunbreaker lets us do that without blood. Juna nodded. How many do we have? 12. Enough for the Council's core worlds. The plan was set. Human fleets surrounded the most important Council planets. They gave the same message to each one. Surrender, or lose everything. Most surrendered. On one world, Ambassador Dren watched the human ships appear in his sky. He remembered the day he had delivered the war declaration to Yuna Park. He remembered her smile. He finally understood what that smile meant. He contacted the human fleet and asked to speak with Admiral Park, why UNA accepted the call. Dren's face appeared on her screen. He looked older than he had 6 months ago. He looked tired. Admiral Park, he said. I want to discuss peace. You mean surrender? Dren closed his eyes. Yes, I mean surrender. Your High Speaker declared war on my species. He wanted to exterminate us. Why should I offer peace? Because, Dren hesitated, because you are better than us. Yuna was silent for a long moment. Explain, she said. We have watched what your soldiers do after battles. They do not slaughter the defeated. They do not enslave the survivors. They help. They rebuild. They show mercy to people who showed them none. Dren's voice shook. I have served the Council for 200 years. I have seen how we treat lesser species. We are cruel. We are arrogant. We tell ourselves we are civilized, but we are not. And now humans come with more power than we ever had, and they use that power to free slaves and heal wounds. He looked directly at Yuna. It is why I ask for peace. Not because we deserve it, but because you are the kind of species that might give it anyway. Yuna thought of her parents. She thought of the burning ship. She thought of the 12-year-old girl who had floated alone in an escape pod. Watching her world die, she had every right to hate. She had every right to take revenge. She could order the destruction of Dren's world. She could order the destruction of all Council worlds. No one would stop her. No one could. But that was not why she had built this fleet. That was not why she had waited 40 years. She had not prepared for war because she wanted to destroy. She had prepared for war because she never wanted humanity to be destroyed. "Tell your High Speaker this," Una said. "Surrender unconditionally. Face justice for what the Council has done, and I will spare your people. I will spare all your people, not because you deserve it, but because we will not become what you were." Dredd nodded. Tears ran down his blue face. "I will tell him," he said. "Thank you, Admiral. Thank you." The call ended. Taiho Kim stood beside Yuna. "Do you think Vorik will surrender?" "I do not know," Yuna said. "But we will give him the chance. Everyone deserves a chance, even those who never gave us one." She turned to look out the window of her ship. The stars stretched forever in every direction. Somewhere out there, billions of humans were waiting. Billions of freed slaves were beginning new lives. A new galaxy was being born. "Order the fleet to advance," she said. "We end this at Theres." The dawn of Earth jumped into faster-than-light travel, leading an armada of 3,000 ships toward the Council's homeworld. The reckoning had come. The sky above Theres was filled with human ships. 3,000 vessels hung in perfect formation, blocking out the stars. On the planet below, 10 billion Council citizens looked up and saw their doom. They had heard the stories. They knew what the humans had done to every fleet sent against them. They knew resistance was pointless. High Speaker Vorik stood alone in his throne room. His advisors had fled. His guards had abandoned their posts. His family had begged him to surrender, and he had sent them away. For 10,000 years, his species had ruled the galaxy. They had built an empire greater than any before them. They had believed they were the chosen ones, destined to guide lesser species toward enlightenment. Now a species they had called vermin was hovering over their homeworld, and there was nothing he could do. His communicator buzzed. A human voice spoke. "High Speaker Vorik, this is Admiral Una Park of the United Earth Fleet. I request a conversation." Vorik almost laughed. Request, as if he had any choice. "Very well," he said. "Speak." "I am offering you a choice," Una said. "You can surrender now, peacefully. You and your government will face trial for crimes against sentient species. Many will be punished. Some may be executed, but your people will be spared. Your world will not be harmed. Your culture will survive, and if I refuse, then we activate the Sunbreaker. Every piece of technology on your planet will stop working. Your hospitals will go dark. Your food systems will fail. Your people will suffer, and many will die. Not because we killed them, but because your own infrastructure collapsed. I do not want this, but I will do it if I must." Vorik was silent for a long moment. "Why?" he finally asked. "Why offer mercy? After everything we have done to your species, after the war declaration, after my son told me you were insects to be crushed, why do you not simply destroy us?" "Because that is not who we are," Una said. "We did not build this fleet to conquer. We built it so no one could conquer us. There is a difference." Vorik walked to the window of his throne room. Below, he could see the streets of his capital city. People were gathered there, millions of them, looking up at the sky. They were not running. They were not screaming. They were waiting. They were waiting to see what their leader would do. "I thought humans were weak," Vorik said quietly. "I thought your short lives made you foolish. I thought your emotions made you easy to control. I was wrong about everything." "You were taught to believe those things," Una said. "Just as we were taught to believe we were inferior. Both of us were lied to. The difference is that we decided to find our own truth." Vorik closed his eyes. "I accept your terms," he said. "The Council surrenders unconditionally." 1 year later, the Grand Assembly Hall on Kilos Prime was filled again. But everything was different. The old Council thrones were gone. In their place was a great circular table where representatives from every species sat as equals. Humans, Council races. The freed slaves of 100 worlds. All of them together for the first time in history. Una Park stood at one end of the table. She wore a simple white uniform now, instead of her old black one. Her silver hair was loose around her shoulders. She looked tired, but she also looked peaceful. 1 year ago, the Galactic Council declared war on humanity, she said. They believed they were starting a quick extermination. Instead, they started a revolution. Not just for humans, but for every species that had been crushed under the old system. She looked around the table at the faces watching her. So many different shapes, so many different colors, so many different histories. But today, they were all the same. Today, we create something new. The Galactic Union, an alliance of equals. No species will rule over another. No species will be enslaved. No species will be told they are less than worthy of respect. Admiral Jehobeek sat nearby. He had been promoted many times in the past year, but he still looked like the young captain who had led the attack on Vorel. He would lead the new Union peacekeeping fleet. Keeping the peace that humanity had won, Sorhan was there too, building a new intelligence service that would protect all species, not just spy on them for the powerful. Mirachoy had already begun sharing human technology with former enemies. Ships that could travel faster, machines that could heal the sick, tools that could feed the hungry. She gave it all away freely, asking nothing in return. Ambassador Dren sat at the table as a representative of his people. He had worked hard in the past year to help rebuild what the old council had destroyed. He caught Yuna's eye and nodded with respect. In the gallery above, former High Speaker Vorik watched in silence. He had been stripped of his power and title. He would spend the rest of his life answering for what the council had done. But Yuna had kept her promise. His people were safe. His world was healing. He had expected the humans to be tyrants. He had expected them to replace one empire with another. Instead, they were building something he had never imagined possible. A galaxy where power was shared, where the strong protected the weak, where even former enemies could find a place. He did not understand humans. He suspected he never would. The ceremony continued for hours. Treaties were signed. Promises were made. Old wounds began to close. When it was finally over, Taiho Kim found Yuna standing alone by the great window of the assembly hall. She was looking out at the stars, just as she had done so many times before. "You did it," he said. "Everything you worked for, everything you planned. It is done." Yuna was quiet for a moment. "I used to dream of this day," she said. "When I was 12 years old, floating in that escape pod, I made a promise. I promised that humanity would never be weak again. I promised that we would become so strong that no one could ever hurt us. And you kept that promise." She turned to look at him. "But strength is not enough, Taiho. Strength without purpose is just violence. Strength without mercy is just cruelty. The old council was strong. They used their strength to hurt and control and destroy. I never wanted us to be like them. We are not like them." "No, we are not," she smiled. And for the first time in 40 years, the smile reached her eyes. "We are something new. Something that has never existed before. A species that had every reason to hate and chose to hope instead." Taiho stood beside her, looking out at the galaxy that humanity had changed forever. "What happens now?" He asked why UNA watched a ship pass by the window, its lights blinking against the darkness. It was a human ship, escorting a former council vessel. Once enemies, now partners. "Now we build something worth protecting," she said. "Now we show the galaxy that the future does not have to be like the past. Now we take all the pain and loss and suffering and we turn it into something beautiful." She took a deep breath. "The war is over, old friend. The real work begins." She turned and walked out of the assembly hall into the light of a new day. Behind her, the representatives of 100 worlds continued to talk and plan and dream somewhere in the galaxy. A child was born who would never know what it was like to be called inferior. Somewhere, a slave took their first breath of free air. Somewhere, a human looked up at the stars and did not feel afraid. The storm had passed. The dawn had come, and humanity at last had found its place among the stars.